Hello and welcome once again. Jason Walker here, Walker Tea Review, and it is the season for us tea tasters here in the U.S. Lots of things are happening, both online and in cities, states around us, communities around us. A couple of things that have come up recently. The Food and Wine Week in New York City had hosted a couple of tea-related events. Last week, I was able to attend a screening of a documentary, The Meaning of Tea, where the screening explored really exactly that, the meaning behind tea, what people associate, what connections they draw with tea. The cinematography was great, organized, well directed, a beauty to watch. A beauty to get a window into people's lives and how they view and think of and appreciate teas. We're going to be appreciating a tea today together. This is from MightyLeaf. It is a black tea. We've got our water here ready to go. This is our chance, as we said, so many opportunities around us for tasting teas, and that's what we're going to be doing today, tasting a tea together. We've got our hot water, we've got our tasting cup, our glass. Let's go ahead and get this started and let it steep for a while. We're going to be using Adagio's tasting cup from their tasting set that's available on Adagio's website. We're going to add a teaspoon here. You can see this is a teaspoon is kind of spilling over the sides, but if you kind of press it out, it would be about a flat, slightly arched teaspoon. It covers. You spread it out, it covers most of the bottom of the cup. You still see a few patches of white here and there, but that's going to be enough because our cup is only, I'm thinking, if I remember correctly, it's about 5 or 6 ounces. So we're going to get this started. The water's been brought to very close, a pretty good rolling boil. Black teas generally do not like to have a higher level of heat, so we'll set that aside. We'll get our water out of the way. This is your chance to make notes if you want to have your own tasting experience and find out how your palate reacts before you hear other thoughts. This is your chance. Go up to the top of the page. You'll see a how to taste so that you can get some ideas on notes you may want to make. You also see the future episodes page where you can go ahead and look through the upcoming tasting reviews that we'll be doing, find the kind of teas that you're interested in tasting because you don't have to taste them all, and you can find special deals there. As we said, we're looking at MightyLeaf's CeylonYalta is the name of this tea. It is a black tea. On their site, we see 4 ounces selling for $14. That's the regular price. You may be able to hunt around, find a special or a sale on occasion. MightyLeaf does run several promotions. Their website indicates, or the description of the tea indicates, that this is a high-grown tea. Sri Lanka has several altitudes, at least 3, low, mid, and high-grown type of altitude, with teas that have slightly different characteristics that we'll be talking a little bit about. Now, as we talk about or do a tasting, we look at the dry leaf, the wet leaf, and the liquor. So we're going to be talking about our dry leaf first. Make it sound a little bit. Let me looking at the leaves here, talking about the color, the shape, and the aromas. So let's first off get an aroma before it dissipates much more. You're getting a bit of a kind of a, how should I say, like a zesty fruit, I'm getting a kind of an apricot smell already coming off of this. That would be kind of the dominant. Perhaps ever so light note of kind of a dried tobacco leaf, that tobacco sweetness there. A couple of the things that we note. Now, our leaves, the shape of our leaves, standard type of shape. We've got wiry. Looks like it's been twisted along the vein of the leaf. We've got colors that are more like a like a grayish brown, a bister type. So yeah, this is what we would see from many of your black teas. Not a lot of variation to note in those. So that kind of covers our Ceylon teas, or at least, I'm sorry, the dry leaf here. A couple of things we may want to note before we move on too far. Let this steep just a little bit longer. Ceylon, Sri Lanka rather, has a couple of characteristics to it. Because it's down in the it's positioned off of India there, the southeastern side. You're seeing it's got it's kind of an egg shape, ellipse shape, and you have a monsoon season that hits from the northeast area, and that rain covers rain for half the year basically, and there's the southwest that comes up that hits the other half of the island for roughly half a year, and what divides them is a mountain range that kind of protects or creates a barrier between the two monsoon seasons that come in. And so with the warm temperatures, the warm climate there, the rainy aspect that divides the two parts, you can produce teas nearly year-round in Sri Lanka. Because of the altitudes, you get lower altitudes that generally have a thicker, heavier body, but as you move up the mountains or the altitudes, you get teas that have a less thick body, lighter body, but have more fruity notes to them. So those are some of the characteristics in general, an overview of what we have in Sri Lanka and Ceylon teas. Now we've given our tea enough time. Yeah, that's a nice thick color. So we're going to go ahead and pour. And if you have not used a tasting cup like this before, a couple of things you may want to note. If you are practicing or have not practiced very much, you want to be able to get airflow in as the liquor pours out, and that way you get a smoother pour and it doesn't dribble. So if your lid does not have a hole in the top, what you're doing is you're going to stick your thumbnail between the lid and the top rim of the cup. Hold the lid down with your other finger here, and you're going to pour through the opening there in the front, just like so. Now with your tasting set, you get a nice tasting bowl, which is ideally sized for just turning your cup over on its side like this and just letting it rest, because the rim of the bowl catches your lid, keeps it on, and your cup doesn't fall into your bowl either. Ideally sized just for that. Now we're going to get all the little drops out, because another handy advantage of the tasting cup is that it is very easy to look at your wet leaf rather. We want to get a good whiff. As our wet leaf, a couple things we want to note is our aromas coming off our wet leaf, any shape or color change of our leaf after it's been steeped. Now let's go ahead and give this one a whiff. I prefer to do that while there's lots of aromas and steam built up in here, but you want to be careful because, of course, with all that steam, you don't want to scald the inside of your nose or anything. So you also note that on our videos here, we are putting markers in so that you can kind of take a brief pause, ever so brief pause, if you need to kind of catch up on your notes. But you don't want to delay too long, because as your tea is over here cooling, your leaves are cooling as well, and you may lose some of the flavors by waiting too long. Kind of cover it up, let them build up, let the aromas build up again. Yeah, you're getting kind of sweet notes. You're getting kind of like a baked peach type smell. If you had like a peach pie. You're getting a little bit of a tannin type smell, but again, that's quite faint. So that kind of baked peach element is there. Okay, now this is how we get to look at our leaves. Careful, because you're still dripping out a little bit of water, but turning your cup upside down and giving it a shake like that will often result in, yes, leaves that fall out and rest there in the middle of the lid, so that you can take a closer look at these leaves. Now, as you look at these leaves, you'll notice that the colors have lightened up. It's kind of an auburn slash rust. There's a reddishness to this, still with the brown as well. As you look at your leaves, you're seeing leaf portions, leaf sections of the leaf. With a lot of your teas, black teas that are oxidized more by cutting the leaf or creating sections of leaf like this, you allow that to oxidize more quickly. It draws out a lot of those characteristic flavors and aromas by bringing a quick oxidization to it. So, we've talked about our wet leaf. We have looked at, we're going to be looking at next our liquor. Our liquor here, you're going to be able to see that we've got a nice, we'll be talking about a couple of things I should start off by saying is our aromas and our color, the body of the tea, any aftertaste. Depending on as necessary, we'll also touch a little bit on any bitterness or astringency of the tea. So that gives us a few things. We've got a nice, almost mahogany color there, rich, reddish brown there. So that's a warm looking color. Let's go ahead and give this one a smell and a taste. Well, the bouquet just from smell, I would say is lighter than some of the other Ceylons that Sri Lankan teas, blacks that I've tasted, smelled. Now, one of the other things you're going to note is when I drink, I'm going to slurp a lot. Slurping allows you to get a nice mix of air, which helps release the aromatic compounds. It helps react with your tongue, and also rises up into your nose, so that you're getting your sense of smell involved with this. Nice briskness is there, pretty powerful briskness. The aromas and the taste, there's a tannin type tartness to it. There's if there had to be a fruit, it's a very slight or a light kind of mango element to it, like a nice red ripe mango to it. The body, remember we talked about Sri Lanka having those three areas, and the lower you go tend to have stronger, thicker, heavier bodies. This one has the characteristics of a higher grown, a lighter body. I mean, it's a full, but it's not as heavy as some of the lower grown. Quite a bit of astringency on this one as well, especially aftertaste. Aftertaste is, you get into a bit of a puckeriness and astringency there at the back of your aftertaste, and it's compared to other black teas, I would say it's moderate to comparable, moderately comparable, mid-level, I would say, to the astringency and aftertaste duration of those. So when we look at this tea as a whole, we talked about, or I should say, especially the liquor here, we talked about fruity aromas from the dry, wet leaf that didn't carry, completely into the liquor. Kind of diminished there in the liquor. The other things that we talked about did have briskness, did have some relatively high astringency level. It did have a moderate level of kind of that brisk, bitterness to it, or puckeriness to it also. So, and the body, again, was not as strong as some others. So it was kind of a low to medium type body. we give this tea an 86 because we would have liked to have seen a little bit of a stronger fruit element. That bouquet could have expanded or offered quite a bit more. A little bit toned down on the bitterness, and of course drop down that astringency level a couple of notches, and that would have given us a nice smoother, more rounded type aspect to this tea. But this is again, this is MightyLeaf's CeylonYalta. Give it a taste for yourself. We're starting to get comments and or I should say we continue to get comments and feedback from you and others about teas that you're tasting, you're experiencing. Always great to have those. Give us your taste, share your tasting experience with us here at Walker Tea Review.